I do have to swap player positions around. So Real up 1, doing very well. Spawning in the top right corner of not Cloud Kingdom, but in fact Daybreak. It's going to be the red Protoss, Temnotal.
They are very similar maps. In the lower left-hand corner, wearing the most beautiful color known to man, it is the victor of the last game with a lot of Colossi. Can he win this one and move on to the finals? It is AiReaL.
Oh man, I've got like a french fry stuck in my teeth. So, talk about PvP, talk about last game for a sec while I try and fix this.
Sure. So what we saw there was basically that more Colossi beats fewer Colossi, particularly when Immortals are in the mix-up. Like Riff said a couple of times during that battle, Immortals are a huge part of a Protoss death ball. They are the anchor. They are the siege tank of the Terran army, if you will. So even though they don't do splash damage, they take a ton of damage, and they have a lot of range too. So if they're at the back, they normally do a lot, but what you saw Real do was take advantage of the fact that he has about a 50 to 100 APM advantage over his opponent, and use that Warp Prism to pick up the Colossi, drop them essentially on top of the Colossi, fire a few times, and pick them up, and that whole time while they're inside the Warp Prism, their shields are regenerated, and they can be dropped again, they can take another hit, and then be picked up, and it was
Not
very
to
pretty.
mention, it dodges the Colossus blast if you're quick enough, so I mean,
Yes.
it negates so much damage, and we got a much earlier gas coming out of Real than Temnotal, so we'll see what the plans are today. But I imagine this will be the same sort of mirror build again. These players, you can tell they're both at the top of their game because they followed the same build order. Down to
So
like,
closely.
yeah, it's like a second difference, 10 seconds difference.
And it wasn't just like the first 3 minutes, 5 minutes of the game. Like at the 9-minute mark, they both started their second Colossi at essentially the same moment. They were like right.
Yeah, you know
at
what?
the same
It's
level.
and it's like I was talking about last game. It was that second RoboBay doubling the production that really brought Real back into that game, and not only brought him back, but won him the game in the end.
Yeah, and I mean, an argument can be made that from the very beginning, Temnotal was actually behind a little bit because of that aggression, but it really was still so close. I think they were like 6 supply apart immediately following that attack, and then it was about 10 supply difference, but that supply difference can be overcome by a ramp.
Yeah, we saw that unfortunate concave around the ramp. You never want to be stuck in that position.
No.
I really feel, you know, tanks are a big deal in Terran, and you can argue that maybe Terran versus Terran is one of the biggest positioning dominant matchups, but Protoss versus Protoss is the next closest because the Colossus blasts, the sentries, the force fields, they're so critical. And if you're off by even one grid mark, that's going to cost you the game.
It can sometimes, especially if you're trying to prevent something like DTs, or you're dealing with like Templar, or the splash damage from Colossi.
Ooh.
Like those single grid marks are really important.
And we kind of lean towards DT's Twilight Council. This could just be for simple blink early on, but I would love for Temnotal to try and do something to catch Real off guard.
Nice scouting by Real, though. He finds that probe that was in the lower portion of the map before a pylon gets to go down. So even if Temnotal was thinking about DTs, that may change his mind. He is forgating, though.
Yeah, so 4-gate with blink, if that's the choice, or he's going to have such an advantage. You just have to be very careful, though, because that RoboBay is already finished. Are we going to see Immortals? Probably, yeah.
Blink.
Observer coming out first, and I mean, like, it doesn't matter if you've got significantly less stalkers. If you have an Immortal and your opponent does not, he is not going to push into your base. Sure, he can blink on top of it and take it out real quick. Just make sure you've got another one queued up, ready to go.
Yeah, Real tried to get in there with a stalker and is actually going to just barely survive. A couple more hits and he would have died there.
Yeah, and there's that
But
Immortal.
he does have this pylon in the north, though, so he can Real can warp in later and harass more if Temnotal ends up posturing at the bottom of Real's ramp.
That blink, though, is going to be huge, Ord. I mean, like I said last game, tech tends to win these games. The Immortal is going to be great. There's a pylon coming out, and as you said, that 4-gate pressure, it can be held, but not easily. And oh no, is Real actually going to rush Colossus? Oh no.
The Observer has arrived for Real in Temnotal's base, though.
And Real is already cleaning up the probe, so no more extra gateways, but bam! 4 stalkers coming in. And while Immortals are good, you can't fight 8 stalkers with 1 Immortal.
Comes down to can those force fields get down in time to prevent the blink up on the
Oh,
high ground.
he accidentally gave away that he had blink.
A little bit early.
Oh, and losing a stalker.
What happened there? It
I-
was like
it
double
looked
blink
like-
for no reason.
Yeah, it looked like a bit of miscontrol because he did it before the force field and then afterwards. It can happen, especially when you're doing so much APM. These players are kind of nuts.
Yeah. Temnotal actually producing nothing right
Oh,
now. And
oh,
he does
blinking
blink-
up to the top. But oh, okay, so I see what he was going for there. I wanted to, before I leave this game, I want to explain for anyone who does not understand. He tried to blink the one stalker before the force field was down, so he could have high ground vision and blink the rest of the stalkers up, and that's what he went for the first time. What we thought was miscontrol was actually tactical genius, but it did not.